Hey, how's it going? Ryan Falkenrath here, setthepacetriathlon.com. We are back to discuss hot topic on everybody's mind, lubrication. Now, stay with me here. It may not be something that you necessarily think about all the time, kind of like it's not bike gear, it's not run gear, it's not necessarily swim gear, it's not really gear in general, it's not nutrition, it's not hydration, but if you've done races in heat and you sweat a lot, you've got a lot of moisture and friction going on, you know what I'm talking about. There's going to come a point where skin's being rubbed on the wrong way, and by the end of the race, or possibly during the race, you can have blisters pop up, you can have raw spots, and it's not fun. Especially when you get to the 70.3 or the 140.6 distance. If you got stuff popping up before you're close to the finish line, that can make a very long day even more excruciating and very uncomfortable. So we're going to go over some recommendations that I have for what maybe products and the best times to use them and strategies for staying well oiled and lubricated. So if you see in the background, I pulled up on the screen what I recommend is Aquaphor. There's plenty of other products out there. There's some moist butter. There's gosh, I can't even put them on one hand, or pull them up on multiple hands. But there's so many different products out there. I mean, the key is with everything else, find something you think you're going to want to use and test it out in training. That's going to be one of the keys. But I like Aquaphor specifically because it's a little bit more oil based. It doesn't absorb in the skin and it stays there and keeps working. It's kind of like oil in the engine. It's always there. It doesn't evaporate, doesn't soak in, doesn't leave. It's in a closed system. It's in your socks or wherever you're putting it. But it's going to stay there and it's going to keep greasy because that's what you want. Is you want a nice lubricated surface so you have sweat in there and you have your fabrics of your tri-suit or whatever you're wearing. And when you're rubbing in the creases and folds of skin and everything, if you don't have anything in there to make that nice frictionless connection point between your skin and the fabric, it's going to rub you wrong, and it's going to rub either blisters or just you're going to find them after the race and after you start cleaning up and take a shower. I've done that many times, learned the hard way. I didn't think I had a raw spot, and then you go take a shower, put some more water on a certain area, and whoa, hey, that got a little raw during that race. I didn't do a good job of keeping well lubricated. So that's what I kind of recommend. Is Aquaphor is my go-to. You can either, like I said, there's behind the photo, there's either little tubs or little tubes of it. So I would recommend, getting a tub for race morning and lubricating everything you want and having it in your morning bag and put it in there. And then for the transition, have the little tubes. So when I go into a 70.3, my transition is set up so I actually take my socks out and put it in the toes and squish around in the sock and then put the sock kind of halfway in. So that way I can just put them on my feet and pull them up. I don't mess with putting it on during transition. So I've lubricated, everything. The saddle area, that's a spot you want to lubricate. I also use Tri-Slide to lubricate around the neck area if I'm wearing a wetsuit. It also helps with the neck area of any tri-suits or anything. Right now, my Zoot tri-suits, around the edges, and I use full sleeve. I don't have any issues with chafing around the edges, so I don't do anything. I do lubricate the saddle area to make sure there's nothing going on there, so pre-race. But then, like I said, Tri-Slide will kind of cover around the neck area. Make sure you get where your zipper is contact, even if it has a cover. It can still rub you wrong, especially if you have a wetsuit on and it's just rubbing that zipper against your chest during the swim. So make sure you lubricate that pretty good. So also, some people lubricate around the watch. I would not, just because nowadays, if you got the heart rate sensor in there, it could kind of mess that up. So just be careful with your watch. Make sure it's nice and comfortable spot and slide around. Like I said, in transition before the race, I put it in the ends of my socks to make sure my feet are lubricated. So when I put them on, that's it for the rest of the race as far as the 70.3 or lower, because those times I'm just changing shoes. Hop out of my bike shoes and put my run shoes on because I wear socks the entire time. So no chance to re-lubricate. So be liberal when you put it in the morning for the 70.3 or lower. On Ironman distance races, I'll get the little tubes and I'll put them in my T1 and T2 bags. So two separate tubes, one for each. I do it before the bike just to make sure there's no hot spots on the bike. And then when I come into the T2, I lubricate the toes before I put the socks on, and very liberal and re-lubricate any saddle areas. They're going to have Vaseline on course, but it's also nice in the changing tents. You can do what you need to, and you don't have to worry about, hiding from spectators or anything like that. It's not, awkward or anything in the changing tents. You just do what you need to, and you start racing. Now, if you've got a tri-kit, you might be thinking around, if a two-piece, you might be thinking around the waist. So that might be an opportunity to get around there, especially in T1 and T2 and Ironman distance event. And if you've got sleeveless, just be careful because the seams will rub the inside of your arm. So maybe there's a spot there, especially longer races, you want to smear something on there. Or maybe if you get to aid station where they've got some Vaseline or something, just grab something, smear it on, and be good to go. So that is going to be an overall tip as far as race day goes. As far as just training, personally, I don't use any kind of lubrication anywhere for my training for long bike rides, for long runs. I used to use them in my socks for long runs, but my toes become so calloused over that it really doesn't need it anymore for training runs. I really only have problems with blisters with either new shoes or on race day. Just trying to go so hard and you're sweating a lot and you got it in your socks. Now, if you're doing a long run outside and you're sweating a lot, that might be an opportunity to put something in your socks. And it's, like I said, at this point in time for me, I don't use it anymore. But usually I don't use any kind of lubrication for my workouts, my training. I guess call me strange or call me weird or whatever, but just never really found the need for it. I mean, once you get to a certain point, Ironman Tulsa 2020 will be Ironman number 8 for me, attempt number 9. Hopefully finish number 8. But leading up to that time, I've developed enough, I guess, resistance to saddle sores or resistance to the friction. And I also have good tri-kits. I wear Under Armour shorts underneath. So I think that kind of helps protect the sensitive areas. I don't really have as many problems in my training with the hot spots and needing lubrication. But race day, like I said, Ironman Chattanooga 2019, it was 100 degrees. Well, okay, 95, something like that. Felt like 100. So I was constantly dousing myself in water. So you get to a point where if you have a lot of friction and you have a lot of moisture and it's hot and that moisture is not evaporating off of you, you're going to have hot spots and you're going to need some lubrication. So there, I definitely needed it. By the end, my feet were toast. Definitely glad I had it in there, and definitely glad I reapplied everywhere because you're already tired. The last thing you want to do is go clean up and take a shower that night and go to bed and realize there's a lot more uncomfortableness coming your way because you turn the shower on and you realize you didn't lubricate properly. So don't forget about it on race day for sure. Like I said, I would go and I'd practice in training, what products you like the best because some are a little bit more greasy than others, some absorb. I wouldn't use just straight like hand lotion necessarily for feet and for saddle areas. It absorbs in the skin and really doesn't do what it's intended for as far as keeping lubricated over time. So that's my 2 cents worth on make sure you're thinking about the lubrication process because it's something like sunscreen and getting sunburnt. It's another factor that during a race you don't want to have to deal with being uncomfortable if it's something that you can prevent. So definitely go out and make sure that you've got some sort of lubrication plan set up in place for race day and try it out in training. That's it for this video, and if you've got any questions, as always, leave a comment and I'll get back to you as soon as possible.